It has come to my attention that there is a fake Qaaman circulating on the internet scamming people successfully out of their money, and I am here to announce very early and firmly that this is all a scam and this is not me. The only sources of revenue that I generate from this channel are the YouTube revenue, your super chat, your super thanks, your memberships, and in addition to this, in a few weeks we are going to launch an official merchandise page on this channel where you can choose to support me to whatever extent that you can. Outside of this, everything that you see in my name trying to get money from you is completely fake. There's no buying and trading PS5s or anything like that. I don't live in Canada. All of this is BS. So if you somehow see some Qaaman circulating on the internet trying to scam you out of your money, please bring it to my attention in either the comment section or the email, and I will try my best to resolve this on my own. Thank you for your time. Dragon Ball fans have gotten obsessed with one particular concept in the franchise over the last year and a half. And this, of course, is the idea of Ultra Fusion. Now, of course, the term Ultra Fusion is not an official term, and it's effectively a fan term to simplify the concept of Ultra Instinct Goku fusing with Ultra Ego Vegeta and what this would turn into. Now, the reason why this is fascinating for so many different reasons is because these are two totally different forms, and these are also the ultimate forms of Goku and Vegeta. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is how would this fusion actually come about? Would it be through the Metamori's dance, or would it be through the Potara earring? Doing the dance is a much more complex way of doing it, because you have to have perfect symmetrical positioning to your fusion partner, and in the particular case of Goku and Vegeta, there's always the error that you can just slightly slip your finger, and you turn into a significantly worse version of what you needed to be, which ultimately was always the risk of doing dance. But with the earrings, you never really had to worry about that. You just slide them on and you transform together, and it doesn't really matter whether or not you're stronger or weaker than your opponent, which is something that's extremely important to bring up in this. If Goku and Vegeta were to fuse via the dance, this is a very complicated concept here, because of the fact that when you're doing the dance, you're supposed to have a completely equal power level so that you fuse into a more powerful being. But in the case of trying to fuse in your base forms and then kind of transforming into this ultra combined state when you're actually fused is actually something significantly more complex and different, because of the fact that this was already brought up in Dragon Ball, or shall we say the Dragon Ball Z portion of Dragon Ball, with Gotenks, when Piccolo was instructing Goten and Trunks to fuse in their Super Saiyan forms, even though Gotenks should be able to just transform anyways. If Goku and Vegeta were already in their Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego forms, it would be very difficult to see them doing the dance into a stronger fusion, considering the fact that as god-like forms, they don't really have a power level anymore. They don't really use normal ki anymore. And that is obviously something that you can't really equate. How do you really equate a completely equal power level when you're not using regular ki? And as a result of it, it just wouldn't be practical to imagine them doing a dance in their ultra forms, which would mean that they would have to go into this in their base forms and then transform afterwards. Now, thinking about it more from the dance perspective of the Metamori's Art of Fusion, this would be the most practical way for them to actually fuse, because even though the earrings would be a more effective way of fusing, this is something they can always do without requiring an actual item, so as long as you got hands and legs that can move, you can always just do this. Now, when you directly compare this to the Potara aspect of fusing, since Goku and Vegeta are effectively gods or godlike in these forms, using a Potara earring that was specifically designed for deities because Dragon Ball Super changed the way the fusion worked, that would effectively mean that this form in itself would make a lot more sense for divine beings, especially those who are directly training under an angel and a god of destruction. And as a result of this, the Potara earrings would actually make a lot more sense to use in a situation like this, even if it's not as practical because you actually have to have somebody give you an airing. But considering the fact that Goku has instant transmission and even Vegeta technically has instant transmission too, they can always just easily find a way to grab earrings if they absolutely need to. Now, but one thing that we have to also understand about this fusion is that it's fun to talk about in theory, but from a realistic standpoint, Goku and Vegeta would never actually want to fuse with each other because they don't like fusing in the first place, and they only do it when they absolutely need to against a significantly more powerful foe, which a lot of you and myself have been talking about when it comes to Black Frieza, and if they're pushed to the absolute edge, would they actually do something like this? Now, from a marketing point of view, let's just be honest here, guys. This fusion would sell a lot of toys, and one key reason is because of the design aspect, because of the fact that it would be very similar to Gotenks in a sense, where the two different hair colors, especially in his base form, because Trunks has purple hair and Goten has black hair, so if you mix them together, the hair mixes too. And when you also look at Ultra Ego, and then when you also look at Ultra Instinct, the two different contrasts of different hair color combined with the fact that Vegeta doesn't have eyebrows anymore, so he kind of got that whole Super Saiyan 3 treatment. It would be very interesting to see what an Ultra Fusion would look like overall, especially if you're trying to combine the two different designs in it. But there's some other things that we have to factor in here, because this form in itself has a major mindset clash where Goku thinks in a totally different way and Vegeta thinks in a totally different way. So when two beings become one being, the question is, well, does this new being have the ability to think like both characters at the same exact time? Because trying to use Ultra Instinct and being completely calm combined to the completely bold, brash nature of Ultra Ego seems like a complete design clash in their whole approach to fighting in the first place. So this new being would have to have like a perfectly symmetrical way of thinking about it. But in more recent Dragon Ball Super chapters, we have seen the fact that Goku is no longer using his mastered Ultra Instinct state, because even he himself admitted to the fact that it's extremely difficult to stay calm all the time, and he's not calm most of the time that he's fighting, and as a result of it, Goku is using what is referred to as true Ultra Instinct, or a variant of the Ultra Instinct Omen that we saw during the Tournament of Power. And if they were to actually fuse, it would make more sense for Goku to fuse in this state than to actually fuse in the Mastered Ultra Instinct state, because the nature of the forms themselves just don't make any sense. Now, if they did successfully fuse, whether we say it's Gogeta or Vegito, this would be the most OP character ever. And when you combine the two different natures of these forms, you have a character that can effectively dodge everything, while at the same time being able to destroy everything. That weird clash, if it were to somehow be successful, would be so ridiculously OP, because as of what Vegeta was saying about Ultra Ego, as he takes damage, he gets more powerful. So if you do somehow manage to hit this Ultra Fused character, they're only going to get stronger as a result of it, so this is the ultimate cheat code ever. And this would be the kind of character that you would use to end the Dragon Ball franchise, because it's like, after Ultra Fusion, how much higher could you possibly get in Dragon Ball than this? And considering the fact that Black Frieza has gotten so powerful now, he would be the perfect character for Goku and Vegeta to fuse into to defeat now, and this would also kind of be good for Vegeta, because if this Ultra Fused character was to somehow defeat Frieza, does that technically give Vegeta credit for defeating Frieza? Because by technicality, he half defeated him because he was a part of the fusion that defeated Frieza. So he technically defeats Frieza via a fused character now, which ultimately gives Vegeta the shine that fans have been waiting quite a while to see. And unfortunately for those who would have wanted to see Vegeta defeat Frieza in a 1v1 with Ultra Ego, this just doesn't seem likely, because Frieza's just way too powerful, and also if you just use destructive energy to easily defeat Frieza, that would just be way too easy, because destructive energy is meant to just eliminate your opponent right there on the spot, as we saw with Beerus. And if you kill Frieza so easy, it would kind of defeat the purpose of him being so powerful in the first place. And also, when you consider the fact that, looking more so into the anime adaptation that went more into this, Frieza has plans to surpass Beerus, as he's mentioned before. And in addition to this, he's also somewhat figured out how to control destructive energy, as seen when there was an attack on him prior to the Tournament of Power, when he launched the destructive energy towards Goku. So it's very possible that Frieza's just extremely prepared for something like this, And as a result of all of this, Frieza will not lose. But of course we're combining anime and manga concepts into one, so this isn't fully accurate, but you get where we're going with this. So ultimately, this is a fascinating concept, and if this were to ever happen, the execution would be extremely complex. But I think the Dragon Ball community would be extremely excited to even see something like this, and whether you love it or not, this would be something that would get the Dragon Ball fanbase's attention, because this is such a ridiculous idea for fusion that people would have no other choice but to pay attention to it.